Good morning, guys. What's up? What's up? Welcome to my channel. My name is Colleen, and I do share about our life experiences here in New Zealand with news on the side. For today, guys, through this video, babawi ako sa inyo. I know it's been a while since my last upload, and to make this a bit different, I'll be sharing with you video clips that I have captured from our recent trip to the North Island. The scenery you are currently seeing, guys, was taken from Rotorua. This place is very famous for the Maori culture and also the geothermal activity in the area. This is where you can also find the largest geyser or geyser in the southern hemisphere, the Pohutu Geyser. Another interesting attraction in Rotorua is the Redwoods Tree Walk. If you are into nature and you like to breathe fresh air, this is a must visit. It was so tranquil and serene and peaceful to be walking and be surrounded by tall redwood trees. We went in the morning, but they are also open until evening, and I think if you'll go visit during the night, it'll be stunning because they've got lights hanged around the trees. Okay, guys, I'll just stop talking about our traveling experience because what I really want to share with you are updates with regards to the cost of living here in New Zealand and also to tackle about the current situation of the healthcare system. But before that, if you're finding my channel interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe. The first thing I would really like to talk about is the current situation of IQNs, or International Qualified Nurses, here in New Zealand. As we know, in the past few years, New Zealand has been more known to nurses abroad to be a good place to start their nursing career journey outside home. I guess one thing that was really interesting for people is that IQNs were able to apply for a straight to residency status once they start working here in New Zealand. In the process of becoming a registered nurse, which is the CAP or the Competency Assessment Program, was pretty straightforward. Although late last year, as I have mentioned in my other vlog, that the Nursing Council of New Zealand has started implementing the Objective Structured Clinical Exam, or OSCE. And this is also to assess the competency of applicants who intend to become a New Zealand RN. This assessment scheme or process is also being used in Australia, Canada, and the UK. Just something to share, guys. When I first came here in New Zealand, I was also an international qualified nurse. However, my journey started as a caregiver or a healthcare assistant when I moved in back in 2014. During the time, I remember my colleagues were really focused on working to be able to save money to start processing the requirements by the Nursing Council of New Zealand. I don't know if it is right for me to say that caregiving has become a pathway to become a New Zealand registered nurse back in the day, but now we're talking about 2024. It's a different story. It is indeed not the same, and to be honest, let me share with you my personal experience. I work with healthcare assistants in my workplace, and these are international qualified nurses who are well experienced and who have worked in specialty areas. To my surprise, they are not rushing or they're not in a rush to get the registration started as a New Zealand nurse. And that is the reason why I would like to share these information to all of you so you are aware of what is really happening here. As I relay these information to all of you, international qualified nurses actually find it hard nowadays to find and land a job here in New Zealand. Let this be a reminder to all to please take caution, as in the case of Filipinos, for example. There are agencies or firms who inform individuals that they can come to New Zealand to complete their assessment and be registered as a nurse. And although this is right, there is no guarantee that they will get their registration nor find an employer who will give them a job offer within the validity of their visa. And considering that you're a visit visa holder, then you must go home if in case your visa is about to expire or has expired. I was wondering if it is possible for them to apply for an extension of their visa, but I was also thinking that if you have applied for this visa and expressed the purpose that you are to complete your assessment or your registration as a nurse here, I'm not quite sure if you would be allowed to be given an extension if you have already completed that process. Remember, guys, this not just only happened to Filipinos, this also is being experienced by Indians, because as of the moment, the top sources of nurses here in New Zealand are actually from India and the Philippines. It is heartbreaking to hear stories on how people's savings or their hard-earned money were all spent for the whole process, because it's not really cheap to get your registration as a nurse, considering that it is overseas. And when I do share these information to the locals or the New Zealanders, they're also in shock that the international qualified nurses would need to spend that big amount of money, considering that we are really in need of nurses here in the country. Sadly, I am not seeing as much vacancies online, and also according to an article on the New Zealand Nurses Organization's website dated back on June 14 of this year, that Health New Zealand Te Whatu Ora has implemented a cost-cutting measure, which they are disappointed about. At this stage, there's still a lot of international qualified nurses working on their registration here. Hence, the competition is pretty high despite not having enough vacancies available for everyone. I just want to be clear, guys, that I am not discouraging anyone, or I'm not telling you not to come here to New Zealand, but I would just like to give you the good picture of what is really happening here. A lot of people are disappointed or dismayed that they are not able to find a job here in the country and ends up going back home to their home country. I would just like to let you know that this is what is happening, and hopefully the information that I have shared has given you a better insight or has helped you decide whether to push through at this time with your plan to register here as a nurse. Moving on, let's talk about the cost of living here in New Zealand. So previously I've made a video particularly about rentals and groceries. This time I'll be a bit more general, but I'll begin with transport. There are different modes of transport here in New Zealand, although it seems to be a necessity to have your personal vehicle. I honestly think it's not hard for you to purchase your own vehicle, even if you're not a New Zealand resident or citizen. Based on our experience, we went into a car yard, chose a vehicle, and then we just provided them all our identification details, and we gave them our bank account details so they can automatically debit the amount for payment. If in case you haven't owned a vehicle here in New Zealand, but you've got one now, just so you know, you are required to pay a yearly registration fee of your vehicle, and this vehicle should be under your name. Also, to make sure that your vehicle is safe to be driven on New Zealand roads, you are meant to get a warrant of fitness. Now, the frequency of the warrant of fitness would depend on when your vehicle was made. Meanwhile, if you're planning to take your dependent children to come here to New Zealand and study here, eligible students may enroll in primary and secondary schools without paying any tuition fee. However, what is surprising is the cost of school uniforms here in New Zealand. Due to privacy, I won't be using my children's school uniforms, but I will be describing the type of uniform that they use and how much it costs. For example, with my daughter, their uniform is a plain white blouse and a skirt, with each blouse that has just the initials of their school embroidered on the left collar, if I'm not mistaken, cost more than $40 each. And of course, you won't be buying just one blouse, isn't it? And then the skirt cost more than $70. Now, in the case of wintertime, it gets more expensive because they do have another layer to wear. Although I don't think this is a requirement, but if in case you are considering to purchase a jersey. In her school, merino jerseys costs $85, while acrylic ones cost $70. I am not complaining about anything, especially there's no tuition fee entailed with the education of my daughter or my son, but I really think the price of clothing here in New Zealand is high. That's why it goes the same with the school uniforms. Alright guys, I'm gonna wrap up this video. Currently, what you're seeing here is a night view of Rotorua. This was taken during our luge ride at Skyline Rotorua. If you are visiting, don't miss this experience, guys. We were all first timers on the luge, and it was so much fun. Thank you so much everyone for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, send me a private message on my Facebook page, and have a lovely weekend.